guys, how are you? So this story is kind of dumb, but we're going to talk about it. Alyssa Milano is gracing us with some of her beautiful hypocrisy again, so I'll just go right into the story. I'm going to put up some of her tweets on the screen and just kind of have those up and visible while we're going through the story, because it made me laugh a little bit. Exclusive, this is from the Daily Mail. Defund the police activist Alyssa Milano calls 911 sparking massive police presence in her quiet California neighborhood, claiming a gunman was on her property, but it was really a teen shooting at squirrels with an air gun. I don't know why a teen shooting. Why was he shooting at squirrels with an air gun? Is that a thing? Do people do that? I like squirrels. That makes me sad. Anyway, let's read the story. Actress and Defund the Police activist Alyssa Milano was quick to call cops when she believed an armed gunman was on her Bell Canyon property Sunday morning. The call ignited a response that included 7 Ventura County Sheriff's vehicles, 1 K-9 unit, a police helicopter, and 1 Los Angeles Fire Department team that sat down the street on standby. Keep in mind they were there for 3 hours. Hey, I really missed you guys. Just kidding. So I'm editing this video right now and I just caught something and I want to talk about it. I didn't catch it when I was making this. So if you look at the tweet that I have up on the screen right now, in between this video, the Alyssa Milano tweet with the picture of the sort of military type vehicle. So she was retweeting this. The original tweet says, the Moundsville Police Department has added a vehicle to the fleet. I'll tell you everything about the MRAP, about what it offers, and explain how the department got it for free. So then Alyssa basically says, this is the problem. We've militarized the police to protect and serve. How many hungry children would the cost of this tank feed? So she's basically saying the cost of this tank could have fed hungry children and mental health services and childcare and school supplies and all of this stuff. Did she miss the part where he said that they got it for free? Maybe, or I don't know, but that's the thing. Yes, police do have a lot of tactical and military type materials, and they get these materials for free from the military. It's usually materials and vehicles that are out of date or that have been used. The only cost by the police department is the cost of shipping and potential maintenance along the line. So it is essentially free for the police department, and unfortunately, it's sad, but, we're seeing so much rioting. People are burning up police cars, trying to burn down police precincts, attacking officers. Thousands of officers have been attacked in these riots. So unfortunately, this type of material, and this is arguable, but unfortunately it's necessary given the current political climate that Alyssa herself has fed fuel to. So that's all I have to say about that. One neighbor tells the Daily Mail, "We first noticed the helicopter circling overhead, very low, and knew something was going on. It's usually such a quiet community. Then we saw all the police cars parked in front of Alyssa's homes. They had their guns out. They had their guns at the ready and seemed very serious." Just gonna read you 2 more things, and then we'll talk. Okay. So it did turn out that it was a neighborhood teen who eventually actually called the police and turned himself in because he realized that all the commotion was about him. Embarrassing. Okay, so let's see. So the Daily Mail interviewed one of her neighbors, and this is what one of the neighbors said. She can tweet those things. They're referencing her defund the police tweets. So this neighbor says she can tweet those things because at the end of the day, she lives behind gates in a gated community. She knows the police will come to save her. But what about all those people who don't have that luxury and live in unsafe neighborhoods? She obviously doesn't care. She uses her platform in hypocritical ways. Why not send your husband into the yard to find out what is actually going on before you call the police? I would guesstimate the response today from law enforcement cost taxpayers thousands of dollars. This isn't the first time she has been called out for being a hypocrite. In August, ex-Charmed castmate Rose McGowan went on a Twitter rant accusing her of stealing the Me Too movement. Milano enraged McGowan when she defended presidential candidate Joe Biden after sexual assault allegations against him by a former staffer who went public. The feud prompted the hashtag Alyssa Milano is a lie to trend on Twitter. And I believe that's around the time that Alyssa Milano protected her Twitter account. You can't actually respond to her or tweet at her anything unless you are an approved follower of hers, I believe, which is a common tactic amongst people that get called out for their hypocrisy, mostly on the left. That is because they kind of know it's true and they really don't have an argument. If you have nothing to hide, you hide nothing. You don't need to block people that are just calling you out. I wouldn't call it harassment. I am not for harassment, but that's not what she was doing. She was basically just trying to block anyone who was calling her out for her hypocrisy, and it was warranted, in my opinion. She sat front and center during the Kavanaugh witch trials, basically, and demonized him and was a part of just ruining his character. Yet when even more serious, or when even more credible allegations came out against Joe Biden, she said, well, you know, everyone deserves to have due process. She didn't give Kavanaugh the same sentiment, so that's why people called her a hypocrite. So since this happened, Alyssa Milano tweeted this, so I'm going to read you her tweet and then I'll show you her official statement on what actually happened. So now she's denying that she's the one that actually called the cops, saying it's a neighbor who called the cops, which I don't care. I believe you have the right to call the cops. I believe Alyssa Milano has the right to feel safe and has the right to call the cops, just like I believe you do and I do. That's why I don't think we should defund the police. I think that's quite silly. So she says, apparently, right-wing media and trolls have decided that they should target me because my neighbor called the police after seeing a person dressed in black holding a rifle behind my home where I live with my young children and husband. Here is my statement on what really happened. So we'll read that together. On Sunday morning, as we were all getting ready to watch the Giants game, our neighbor spotted a man dressed in all black, walking in the woods between our properties with a gun. That is a rare sight in our parts. The neighbor was understandably alarmed and she called the police. I think we all agree that's, I would probably call the police too. When we then received a call alerting us to the potential situation that officers had been dispatched. My husband subsequently called 911 to check on police. To check when the police would be arriving. While he was on the line, they arrived. The responding officers were amazing and made my family and I feel safe and secure as we sheltered in place until we knew exactly what was happening. After searching the woods for some time, a man who fit the description called the police himself to say he had been hunting squirrels in the area and apologized for the commotion he had caused. I would like to thank the brave men and women of the Ventura County sheriffs as well as all the other officers who came to protect and serve our neighborhood. These are exactly the type of situations that police officers are trained for and should be responding to. And we will always support police having the resources they need for appropriate policing actions. Then why are you for defunding the police? It takes resources away from them. We'd love to see equally trained non-police professionals respond to addiction and mental health crisis and nonviolent events so that these brave officers can do the jobs that they are so good at handling as they demonstrated this weekend. Okay, so a common argument is that defunding the police doesn't actually mean like taking away from the resources of police, and it means redirecting them, but that's just a fancy way of saying you're taking money away from the police. Here in Los Angeles, we voted to cut the budget for police officers $150 million, I believe. And one of the first things that went was the Special Victims Unit. That was one of the first areas that got massively cut under the budget. Special Victims handles children and sexual assault victims, and it helps human trafficking. That's one of the things they work on. So it's really hypocritical for for Alyssa to be defunding the police and also an advocate for the Me Too movement, because that is one of the first areas that got slashed. Because unfortunately, you have to find areas to cut the budget when people are wanting to cut your budget by $150 million. And I actually think this is a very sneaky way of the government. The reason the government is jumping on this is, look at our city. We're in a massive amounts of debt. The whole state of California is. So this is a fancy way for them to be able to save money, but put your safety on the line. And another reason why the defund the police is hypocritical, because it's mostly elitist liberals who sort of spew the rhetoric, or people that live in nice suburban areas. When you actually go to high crime, low income areas and you talk to the people that live there, they say, no, we want more police. We like our police. Don't take any money or resources away from our police. And when you go on the argument of non-police, I'm sorry, I'm just reading so I make sure I say this correctly, non-police professionals to respond to addiction and mental health crisis. Hey, maybe I'm wrong. That's just my opinion. I worked in mental health for a while. I interned at a psychiatric hospital for adults, and I worked with the NGRI patients that's not guilty by reason of insanity. I worked in an acute care psychiatric hospital for children and adolescents. Acute care means we would get our kids in crisis, stabilize them, and then send them back out into the community. I worked at a crisis center where we took in abused and neglected kids. And I can tell you this, an individual who is severely mentally ill and off their medication can be a very, very dangerous person. And, we worked in tandem with police. Police would go in, make sure everything is safe, or transport the individual to us to make sure they're safe, and then we take them in, and that way we are able to do our jobs. The police are there, like I said, make sure it's safe, allow us to properly do our jobs without having to worry about our safety. So we actually did work with police officers. I would never, ever want to go into someone's house for an emergency call, nonviolent or not, because I know how those situations can turn out. You look at Lancaster, Pennsylvania. That was a domestic call, and that was a mentally ill individual. What happened to that individual? He ran out of the house with a freaking knife the size of my arm at the police officer. He could have killed the police officer. Unfortunately, that man passed away. It's interesting because Alyssa Milano also accused right-wing media and trolls for basically criticizing her. I doubt that neighbor that they were talking to in the article we just read was right-wing media or a troll. That just seemed like an individual who is aware of the hypocrisy that comes out of Alyssa's mouth a lot. And I'm all for police reform. I am all for holding our officers accountable. I think we should always be looking at policing and always how can we make it better? How can we reevaluate? How could we have done this better? But I would argue that if you want a safer police force, then they in fact need more funding for better hiring and training purposes. You take funding away, you're going to have less training, less departments, less resources for the officers, which makes you nervous. It makes you uncomfortable. And they actually did that to us when I worked in mental health. And that's why I quit my last job that I had with them, because they kept taking funding away from us. And that actually made our work environment unsafe to the point where I did get attacked and I didn't have the support that I needed, and I just couldn't go back because at this point I was in fear for it wasn't safe. And if I don't feel safe, I can't properly serve the kids, and I just can't do it. So that's why I ended up leaving originally. But those are my thoughts. Let me know what you think. Have a wonderful day. Bye.